You mentioned the songwriting or the lyric writing. Was this, as you entered the band, was this always assumed that you would take this upon you, the songwriting, or?
Well, I think I wanted to, you know, like if I was going to sing something, I didn't really want to sing other people's words. I felt like I had a lot of words and a lot of feelings to express. Having said that, I was a new person in a band, and the band already existed with songs, so there are some songs on the first record where, you know, I've taken old lyrics, something like Limassol. There was in that one there was something about horizons, and it said Limassol, and the rest of the song didn't make any sense to me because I didn't feel it emotionally because Archers had written it. So, but I really thought the Limassol bit was really cool, and it made me think of package holidays and new starts and people going on holiday to kind of get away from it all. And I'd never been really out of the country very much. I used to camp. My parents had tents, and we would stay in North Yorkshire in the northeast. So I never really expanded my own horizons, and I kind of started to think, oh yeah, I see why people leave the country and have this break, and started to write about a sort of a relationship that's breaking up, and it's like, right, let's get rid of this, let's head for new horizons. And so I used, again, the word horizons stuck in my mind, and I sort of utilised that. And then the word Limassol all of a sudden made sense to me as part of that. And the same thing happened with Graffiti. You know, that's another song where I've kind of used elements that Duncan had written and then added in my own things to kind of make the lyric make sense to me. And when we first started out, it was like, just do what you want, keep words if you want, take them all away. So a song like Going Missing had a totally different chorus and verse, and I just sort of had an idea, didn't know whether it would work, and then everybody was like, yeah, that's cool. And that it was kind of on our first few songs that we wrote together, it was very much kind of feeling my way into it and trying not to upset anybody as well. You know, I didn't really know any of the guys apart from Tom, who was in my art history class. So it was an interesting period where we were just learning about each other. And then you write something like Acrobat, which is where, and apply some pressure where they weren't there before. You're writing new songs, and you know, I was the kind of the lyricist, the singer. It felt right, but we tried different things out on each record. And
well, if you look now, then 4 records later, has it changed much for the new record?
Well, we're always trying different things out on each record. Again, the lyrics are my responsibility, and I really love words, and I love kind of playing around with them. So for me, it's kind of pretty straightforward. You know, I like work. I like the work. I like getting immersed in it. But we did a song called "I Recognize the Light" on the new album, and Duncan was saying, "Have you got any words? I just want some words. I don't want anything else." And I said, "Okay, here's some words that I'd written, influenced by a film that I'd seen and by books that I'd read about South American light." And kind of stuff that described the light. And we went to South America as well, and we played in Sao Paulo and in Buenos Aires. And I was like, okay, I've got this song, I Recognize the Light, but it doesn't have a tune. It's just got a verse, a chorus, and another verse, and that's it. And so I gave him those things, and he came back and he'd sung the song with my lyrics, and so he'd used the lyrics, he'd sort of crammed them in. That song's really like totally different to how I would have done it. You know, if he'd have given me the music to it, I maybe wouldn't have even used those words. So that was a totally different way of writing. And usually though, it's kind of the song gets sent to me and I'll hum over the top of it and come up with a melody, and then try and find words that suit the mood of the song, and B, the melody that I've come up with. And sometimes you kind of throw a few words in there and that don't necessarily fit, that are a bit more awkward, which is kind of something that other songwriters do, like Paddy McAloon out of Prefab Sprout, who I interviewed recently. He was saying, you know, I wrote this song and it's got all sorts of strange lines in it, and I just wanted to do it to see if I could get away with it and make it less cheesy, because it's kind of quite a poppy song. and I can associate with that. You know, you want to try and put a twist on each song so that people feel like they've never heard it before. And sometimes the rest of the lads in the band are like, just hang on a minute, that's too much. You know, we're losing the melody or we're losing the meaning. So it's always collaborative in our band. People can always say, I'm not sure about this, Paul. What are you thinking? And I can explain things, and maybe it'll go through when people reflect on it, and maybe it won't. Maybe I'll sort of think again about a line. So it's always evolving, but still, you know, as I say, I really enjoy the responsibility of being a lyricist.
Well, in terms of the songwriting, you said about this record. I wrote it down. We're an emotional band, even if it might be too much information for something which reflects to the lyrics. Is it difficult then to curtail how much information you divulge?
I think you get better at knowing when to stop giving people too much information, and at some points the nature of the lyrics being from the heart and being a kind of, you know, trying to be about feelings and the everyday life, you're always going to put stuff in there that some people find uncomfortable. And there are probably moments on this record where people go, oh, I don't like listening to that kind of thing. But it's our thing, and that's the important thing. It's by titling it too much information, it was almost a warning. It sort of says, if you don't like this kind of music, if you like more detached stuff that's more abstract or stuff where it doesn't deal with feelings, there are plenty of bands that do that. Go and choose them. But we've got something that we feel is important to say. You know, we want to connect to the audience, and a lot of my favourite music is like that, where it reveals something about the author, you know, the person who's writing it, gives you a little something to hold on to of their life, and you can kind of say, wow, that actually happened, you know, there's something in this story. And then it might go somewhere else that's fictional, like a lot of the songs on the new record are influenced by short stories. I'm trying to move away from the personal point at which I started the song, where I'm excited about it and feel deeply about it, and trying to sort of push it into more fictional territory.
Why?
Just because I feel like with each record you want to try and do something a bit different, and that goes for the vocals, the guitar sound, the lyrics, just something slightly different. And I mean, the last album was kind of maybe more open to the rest of the world, you know, it was about the everyday life and kind of extended to things like the national health or the National Health Service. Very abstractly, it linked to those things. It was still a personal plea to the world, but it was more, I suppose, political in the sense that it revealed which my kind of ideologies a little bit in the lyrics, and never overtly so. You know, it was never kind of preaching to anybody. But once you've done that, you think, well, what can I do next time? Okay, some of these songs are more reflective and more personal in the lyrics, so we've done that too. So how do we add something else in there? And people always say, oh, you know, you're always reading books, or there's a literary influences in the lyrics, and that's not necessarily the case. You know, I'm always making music, so I don't read as much as I would like. But on this album, I kind of made more of an effort to kind of read more, to kind of just expand my way of thinking about words, so that I didn't become too closed in and just repeating yourself all the time. So I feel there's this idea of the songs as more as a short story, like the song "Midnight on the Hill" on the record. Each verse is like a little chapter, and you don't really know what happens in the end because it's up to you as a listener to find out.